Chapter 30. The Life of the Party. Cliff was only about 10 minutes late, which was about 5 minutes early for him. "So?" he asked. "Want to open the door?" "What?" I asked. "You and Tony?" "So?" "She's just here to play bridge." "If you say so, Romeo." He walked ahead of me into the living room and sat down at the card table across from Tony in my seat. "I'm Cliff. You must be Tony. I hear you're quite the card shark." Tony smiled shyly. "Not really," she said quietly. "That's what she says," Cliff said, but I saw that twinkle in her eye. Tony's eye might have not been twinkling before, but it was then. Leslie looked at me, waiting for me to say something. She knew I wanted to be partners with Tony, but it seemed silly for me to make a big deal out of it. Cliff was already sitting down. Besides, I realized, it probably made more sense this way, since if Tony and I were partners, Cliff would be Leslie's partner. "We'll have to watch out for these two," Cliff said to Tony. "They have that brother-sister telepathy thing going." Tony gave us a brief lesson on bidding. She said that bidding is a conversation between you and your partner. The only way you can talk to each other is by the bids you make. No other talking is allowed. "Can you wink?" asked Cliff. "That would be unauthorized information," said Tony. He winked at her. Tony's cheeks turned pink. "After you sort your hand into suits," she continued, "you count your points. An ace is worth 4 points, a king 3, a queen is worth 2, and a jack 1. "How about a 6? Asked Cliff. "Nothing," said Tony. "How about 2 sixes? Still nothing. 3 sixes and an 8? "Come on, Cliff, you're not that stupid," said Leslie. "I can understand it, and I'm only 11. Cliff laughed. "You also get points for voids, singletons, and doubletons." Tony had made note cards for each of us. She explained that the points were just used as a way to help evaluate how good of a hand you have. If you have 13 points, then you have a good enough hand to open the bidding. With fewer than 13 points, you should pass. "Pass," said Cliff. "It's not your turn," said Tony. Alton dealt. The dealer is always the first to bid. At the bridge studio, it's indicated on the boards who is the dealer for each hand. I looked at my cards. I had 14 points. The ace, king, and queen of spades were worth a total of 9 points. The king of diamonds was worth 3, and the jack of clubs was worth 1. I also added 1 point for the doubleton diamond. Even though my points were in other suits, I was supposed to bid my longest suit. 1 heart, I said. 6 spades, said Cliff. Tony pretended to slap him. "Double," shouted Leslie. Tony told Cliff that if he didn't have enough points to open the bidding, he certainly didn't have enough to bid 6 spades. "But I have 6 spades," said Cliff. "Just bid 1 spade," said Tony. "Too late," said Leslie. Leslie's protest notwithstanding, we let Cliff take back his bid. Cliff bid 1 spade. "1 no trump," said Leslie. Tony passed, I passed, and Cliff passed too. 1 no trump was the final contract. Tony led a spade, and my hand became the dummy. Leslie was completely on her own. She had to choose which card to play from her hand and which card to play from dummy. Watching her, you never would have known that she had never played before. Not only did she make her contract, but she made an over-trick to boot. "Well done," said Tony. "Hey, whose side are you on?" asked Cliff. Leslie's grin was a mile wide. Tony dealt the next hand. She opened 1 club. Leslie passed, and it was up to Cliff. He rubbed his chin. "Suppose I had the 9 and 7 of spades, 4 heart, including the king and queen, the ace and 2 other diamonds, and 4 little clubs. What would I bid?" 1 heart, said Tony. "Once your partner opens the bidding, you only need 6 points to respond." 1 heart, said Cliff. Hello," said Leslie. "He just told you his entire hand." "I didn't say that was my hand," said Cliff. "I was simply asking a hypothetical question." He winked at Tony. "He just winked," shouted Leslie. "I really don't remember what he said," Tony assured Leslie. Cliff sighed. "The 9 and 7 of spades, the king and queen of hearts." Tony and I laughed, but Leslie wasn't amused. Cliff wasn't as dumb as he pretended. The final contract was 2 hearts, and he made 2 over-tricks. He had played the card game Hearts, so he knew all about following suit and taking tricks. It wasn't that much of a stretch to learn about trump. At the bridge studio, it took my uncle and his group about 3 hours to play 24 boards, one right after another. Leslie, Tony, Cliff, and I played from about 2:30 to 6 o'clock and maybe got through 10 hands. I got to be the declarer twice. The first time I went down in 3 clubs, and the second time I made a 4-spade contract. Cliff actually seemed to have a good time. I was glad that he and Tony got along, and after a while, even Leslie laughed at his jokes. Once I got over my initial awkwardness, I was able to throw in a few funny and insightful comments. I know they were funny and insightful because Leslie didn't groan and roll her eyes. More importantly, Tony smiled. Cliff and I make a good team that way. He breaks the ice, then I'm able to keep things flowing. You're a natural card player, Tony told Leslie as we all headed to the door. Leslie beamed. What about me? Asked Cliff. You're unnatural, Tony said. You want to do this again sometime? I asked. That'd be good, said Tony. Or something else, I said. She smiled at me and said, that'd be good too. I glanced at Leslie, who gave me a little nod of approval. Gilliam's having a party tomorrow night, said Cliff. You guys want to come? Tony and I looked at each other. Okay by me, she said. It was then that I remembered Trapp's bridge tournament. I can't, I said. The sectional. In fact, now that I thought of it, Cliff had mentioned Gilliam's party to me earlier in the week, and I had told him I couldn't go. Oh, I forgot, said Tony. She placed her hand on my arm and said, That's more important. Absolutely, Cliff agreed. Trapp's tournament means a lot more than some stupid party. That wasn't what Cliff had said to me when I first told him that I couldn't go to Gilliam's party. Then it was a stupid tournament. You know about Trapp? Asked Tony. He's an amazing bridge player, Cliff said sincerely. I just hope he wins. Tony nodded. He will, said Leslie. You can still come to the party if you want, Cliff offered, if you've got nothing better to do. Tony looked at me to see if I had any objection, but what right did I have to say she couldn't go to Gilliam's party? You'll have fun, I said. Gilliam's a riot. Gilliam's his last name. That's what everybody calls him, probably even his mother. Tony laughed. She turned back to Cliff and said, Okay. Cool, said Cliff. Leslie's eyes filled with anger. She wasn't looking at Cliff or Tony. Her anger was aimed at me.